Great, welcome everybody. Call the meeting of the planning board May 26th. Wow. To order.
He's getting
Um,
some
glass of water.
So let's see, we'll take a roll call. First, we have John Harden, welcome.
Thank you.
Peter Morton,
I'm here.
Ryan Fry,
Here.
Sarah Creighton,
It's only here.
and Gordon Brewster's out getting a glass of water. And then we have our associate member, Isabella Bates, and Mark Resnick, planner. Karen, can you just, we're not quite ready for you, but can you hear us? Give me a thumbs up. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we can, okay.
I figured I'd just sit in at the beginning.
Okay, great, and you can be our sound check.
You ready?
Good, thank you. So the first order of business, we were in a sort of a little bit of a retreat last meeting. And I just want to also again acknowledge the contributions of Sue Philbrick and welcome John and congratulate Chris and John on the election. Thank you for running and welcome. We'll have a good time. It's a lot of fun here on the planning board, right? So the first order of business is election of officers, which is always a little awkward.
So I'd like to nominate Sarah Creighton to be chair.
Second.
Anybody else?
We're on thinking
All
about
right,
that?
all in favor?
Okay.
Okay, I guess I should abstain. All right, I'm abstaining. Opposed? No, okay, thank you. Thank you for, but I'm always willing to have somebody else step up when you're ready.
Okay. Noted.
Okay.
I feel like we should
Vice-
use our finger.
Yes,
right.
Have we got a nomination for vice chair? Oh,
Yeah, I have a hunch that I'm not a hunch. I'd like to nominate Chris.
right, Chris.
I was gonna nominate you, Peter.
No, too late.
All right, we have a nomination for Chris Olney.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous.
It's
And you can be the vice chair.
No.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. The next item of business is just a little housekeeping. I put in a request to get you a email. All of our documents are on SharePoint, and we can sit down. Gordon, we should sit down when we do it together so that we can, anybody who needs a refresher on where things are, happy to do that. And hopefully, I had Kendall, I didn't think of it till today, and I apologize, send you the quick dump of, but we'll share documents too. So, any public comment on matters not on the agenda? Not seeing any public, I do see two people. Any public comment on matters not on the agenda? Raise your hand or, okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Public hearing for Manchester Marine, is that at 6:30 or at 7?
6:30.
6:30. Do we have someone for Manchester Marine here? Brett Smith?
Good evening. I'm here with my colleague Attorney Ellen Fryman on behalf of Selco Partnership doing business as Verizon Wireless.
Okay, great. Just I just want to make sure you were here. What we're going to do is, we have to first open the public hearing, and then we can hear from you. I just want to make sure you were here. So you didn't give me the. So I'm going to take a motion to open the public hearing for a special permit for the applicant of Manchester Marine Corporation under section 6 of the bylaw, right, 6.1? Let's see that here. Is that sufficient, Mark?
Yes.
So under section 6.1 of the bylaw, and this has been duly posted, and abutters have been notified. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, we need a roll call. Gordon, I'll start with you, Isabella. Yes?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Sarah votes yes. Brian?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Brett, welcome, and go ahead. And if you need to share the screen, I can give you that.
Perfect, thank you. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Brett Smith. I'm an attorney at Shedd Schwartz & Fenton. Our office address is 1441 Main Street, Springfield, Massachusetts. I'm here with my colleague, Attorney Ellen Fryman, on behalf of Cellco Partnership doing business as Verizon Wireless. We're here tonight for our eligible facilities request under Section 6409 of the Federal Spectrum Act to modify an existing wireless communications facility located at 17 Ashland Avenue. The existing facility is a 90-foot and 9-inch tall monopole, which is camouflaged as a flagpole so that it is camouflaged with the surrounding marina environment at the property. And our proposed modification entails removing 3 existing panel antennas and installing 6 new panel antennas to upgrade those, as well as 3 diplexers and some additional hardware and cables, as well as increasing the diameter of the shroud concealment from the portion above the yard arm or the crossbar on the flagpole. That increase would be by 6 inches from the yard arms all the way to the top of the flagpole. And we also have, we submitted to the board some photo simulations and our updated plans. And I'd be happy to pull the photo sims up and go through the board so you can see that there really is there's a minimal to no visual impact with the increase in the diameter of the shroud concealment. And we'd be happy to address any other questions that the board members may have.
What I did give you sharing rights, so if you want to share the visuals, I think that's probably a good place to start.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so these are photos that are taken with the existing view and the existing flagpole. And then each photo will be followed by the proposed view of what it would look like following the modification. So here's the existing view. You can see the flagpole right here in the center of the photo. And then the proposed modification, as you can see from these distances, it's minimal to no real visual impact on the concealment aspects of the facility. This is the second view that's existing, and then this is the proposed view. And again, a third view right up close. This is the existing conditions, and this is the proposed view with the modification. Again, existing view and the modification. As you can see, there's the slightest increase in the width, but all in all, visually, it doesn't have a significant impact on the view. and the fifth view, that's existing, and the proposed. Again, existing view, and proposed view. Existing and proposed. I believe this is the last view. You can see here in the distance in the center of the photo, that's existing. And that would be the proposed view with the modification. Those are all of the views. If you'd like to see any of the specific photos again, I'd be happy to scroll back and address any of them.
So, so can you just, in narrative, describe the height and the width of the pole existing and the height? At what height does the new pole begin? We're looking at the actually schematic, but I think it's page 77. Yeah, there you go. You want to make that a little bigger? I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah. So the increase would begin right above the yard arms or the cross pole here. Roughly about 58 feet above ground level. And it would be a continuous width, so all of the space above the yard arms would be a continuous diameter of the extended diameter by 6 inches.
And the existing diameter is what? I'm looking.
The existing diameter is 2 feet, and the proposed would be 2 feet 6 inches.
Okay. And the height will not change. Is that correct?
Correct.
And will it remain a flagpole?
Yes, so everything else, all of the concealing elements and the flagpole design will remain the same. The only change will really be, aside from the equipment that's being swapped out, the increase in that diameter above the yard arms. And that's to be able to give sufficient room for some of the newer updated equipment that they're proposing to install.
And Mark, this was originally permitted when?
Originally permitted, I think, in 2005.
Yeah.
And then it received an update in 2011, 14. They increased the height of the pole by 10 feet.
Huh. Who knew?
In 14.
Yeah, that was.
Okay. So it was increased by 10 feet in
10 feet up.
10 feet.
Yes.
Okay.
I had emailed those, or they're in the folder, those two approvals. I don't have them with me.
Okay. Any other questions from people?
Right.
Yeah.
No, okay. As I'm looking at the schematic here, it appears to be the existing flagpole will stay in place, which is that's the way it's done, and everything will be attached to that. Am I reading that right?
That the existing pole is going to remain in place?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, so it's just going to be basically expanding the shroud concealment that'll go over this top portion of it, but everything else below and the pole itself will remain.
I'm not seeing that old decision. I'm just wondering what conditions were on the prior.
Did you have a question?
Does it actually function as a flagpole as well? Can flags be on it?
Yes, I think so.
I'm not sure.
Oh, the flag definitely flies on it now.
Does it?
Yeah. Can you look out the window? I mean, seriously.
It's right there.
Yeah, there's a flag.
Yeah.
The flag?
Yeah.
And does it go all the way to the top?
It's half-mast at the moment.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
it's because
Memorial Day?
Memorial Day.
the firefighter who died. And
Oh, right.
Um,
Will our cell service be improved as a result
That
of
was
this?
my question. What's gained by this?
Yeah, so the updated antennas and other wireless equipment that will be being swapped out and added is for the purpose of enhancing and kind of updating the technology that's currently existing in the pole, as kind of the wireless needs of the area increase. Now, obviously, with everyone having wireless devices and needing increased coverage, that's kind of the main driver for needing to update those antennas in the equipment, is to be able to further enhance the coverage that's existing at the site now and in the surrounding area.
Okay, I did find the 2000
Yeah.
decision. There were no conditions placed on it. So, is it possible to have the entire pole be the new diameter?
I know there was conversation, because the way that this pole is set up, Verizon is not the owner of the pole. They're just a co-locator on the pole, so they have space on the pole to just attach their equipment. And it's actually a third party who owns the pole. So initially, the discussions around expanding the dimension had started with just where Verizon's equipment is located. And then there was some talk that it wouldn't have as visually, wouldn't be as visually appealing with there being kind of sectors that are a little bit wider and then going back to a more narrow diameter. And I know Verizon had worked with the tower owner and had come to the agreement that if they were going to expand it, they would agree to expanding the entire top. But I'm not sure how those discussions went, if there was even any consideration about the lower portion below the yard arms.
What are you concerned with, the imbalance in the two diameters?
Yeah, I'm just wondering.
Are there any other technology users on the pole?
I believe there is another carrier right here in between Verizon's two locations on the pole.
It's not T-Mobile.
So the original application was to Nextel, and then the application, or the special permit in 2002 was to Sprint.
Verizon owns them all now, don't they?
What?
Did Verizon buy Nextel?
I don't know.
So,
Does Verizon own Nextel? Is that how you guys,
that was a long time ago.
I'm not sure it matters. But I don't see, I don't see any conditions.
This is Ellen Fry. I looked it up. Sprint bought Nextel.
Ah.
Oh, okay. And you are asking for a waiver on the financial analysis portion of the special permit, correct?
Correct, yeah, for the financial surety requirement.
Well, there are two things. One is the financial analysis that would be sometimes required for a special permit. You didn't ask for that. I guess then the second is the financial surety. because there's no disruption of the site, is that correct?
Yeah, correct. And as far as any kind of removal costs, if the facility were to cease operations, those are typically conditions or requirements that the tower owner would take on. And as a co-locator here, Verizon is really only responsible for their equipment that's on the tower. And anything beyond, like the remainder of the tower itself would be the responsibility of the tower owner.
So in 2002, the board finds that that the financial surety is addressed by request for $10,000 bond for removal of the tower, remediation of the landscape, and $5,000 bond for the removal of the Sprint equipment. And the board finds that $10,000 and $5,000 are adequate financial surety, and the financial surety on each case is a 30-year surety bond payable to the town of Manchester. So presumably that's still in place.
We'd have to check.
We'd have to check that. So I'm just looking. And okay, it doesn't look like there were really any other conditions than that. But the question does, so you're saying that you would not be responsible for removal of the tower because it's not owned by you.
Correct.
Is that reflected in your application?
There's a letter of authorization
Okay.
in here.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so it sounds like that's not even irrelevant, germane to the application.
Yeah, pretty much, yes.
Okay.
Now, whether we should revisit the 10,000, if we have it, is it still sufficient after 25 years?
Right. It seems before we grant the waiver of that, we should know that we have it and that,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so that's an open question. Any other questions,
So
comments? Yeah,
the
go
bond
ahead.
law requires some testing, pre-testing and post-testing, and what to do if there are excessive radio frequency emissions. And I guess those could be conditions to the permit.
And is there a definition of what excessive is?
Applicable federal, state, and local regulations.
So that's which section are we in?
This is section 8.1.3. It's on page 55 of the bylaw.
Okay, so we do have a special permit for wireless devices as opposed to the section for general special permits. So the criteria are mitigated against potential negative impacts on visual quality, protect against potential damage to neighboring properties, financial surety to cover the cost of remediation or damage to landscape upon the removal of the facility, testing and monitoring of radio frequency emissions in compliance with laws.
Because I can remember when there was a proposed cell phone tower more in town, and there was a huge outcry about that because of the radio frequencies going out. People were very worried about that.
Right, that was on the, I think the water tower.
Yeah.
But they are on the water tower.
That,
I think it's
This
like a
is-
little bit, 20 years later, people are less,
worried.
or more accustomed to having their cell phone, our cell phones, and I'll put myself in that category. Mark, you also asked a question of, Copeland and Page.
Yes.
And what was the question, and did we hear back?
I asked them a question related to the issuance of a special permit, because they used the, what's the term you use, that it's a not exempt
Communications.
facility, eligible facility, therefore you meet certain conditions, so you're not necessarily subject to discretionary permits. So I asked the question of Copeland and Page, however, they, I think between some town meetings and vacation time, they didn't get back to me. So I think, by the next meeting, we should have a complete answer on that.
Okay.
Also, I believe under the FCC regulations, as far as like requiring like monitoring and testing of radio, there's certain things that really do limit what communities can do, if anything at all. I mean, and again, it's pretty limited. Haven't done a cell tower in 15 years, so not familiar with what the latest is, but as far as that goes, but I can also confirm that.
So our jurisdiction is visual impacts and protecting neighboring properties, and presumably given that it's on Manchester Marine's property and they're not here and they know it's,
We
okay,
have a butters notices in this.
What?
We have a butters notices. in this
yeah,
too,
they were
so.
notified, so,
Well, the application did,
come from Manchester Marine.
and it also included a lot of data about the
Yeah.
emissions. There was a lot of radio frequency
Right.
stuff in there, yeah.
Which we're not really,
Which who knows what it
we
is.
don't know anything about. I mean, Brett, can you explain, how you're regulated on emissions, radio frequent emissions, and how that's regulated, just so we're comfortable?
Yeah, so to that point, we did submit an RF report that kind of outlines the emissions testing that was done pre-construction and pre-modification for the site. But in general, Verizon as an FCC license holder does have to ensure that they comply at all times with all the FCC regulations when it comes to radio frequency emissions and all of those aspects. So just by terms of their licenses with the FCC, they are required to make sure that they're compliant at all times.
Okay. So it seems to me the only open question is the question about the financial surety and where we are with that. So, what do you recommend, Mark, that we could just continue till the next meeting and then close it out then?
Yes, yeah, I recommend you continue so we can check on the bond and where that is, and if that's in place, whether you wanna ask them to talk to the pole owner about increasing the width on the lower portion. Also, confirm about the testing with council, as well as the process that they're saying they're entitled to a decision within 60 days, which I think we'll get to anyways, but which I believe is what's required as an eligible facility.
Okay. So I think we can resolve those issues pretty quickly at the next meeting. So I'll take a motion to continue the public hearing for the application for Manchester Marine cell phone tower until June
6th.
next meeting. Sorry.
6, 7, 8?
June 8th.
Yep.
And I'm gonna say 7 PM, because I've got something we wanna do at, before, or maybe 7:30.
You want to do that?
Yeah, we wanted to
Walk.
do a site walk, so hold on, we'll set a time here in a second. What I wanted to do at the June 8th meeting was to, what we had talked about in our little meeting at Seaside one, was do a foot walk of the general district. Mark and I talked about it. It's probably gonna have to take us 2 meetings, do one chunk and then, so if we could start at 6 on that night, if people, and I just wanna get a sense for people.
June 8th?
June 8th, start at 6, and then come back here and start our public hearing for this matter at 7. I think we have maybe 2 other public hearings that night, but have those all been posted at
Public
6?
hearings for that meeting have been posted.
At 6:30?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe what we should do is do our walk at the end of the meeting.
Nice.
That's not-
Twilight?
What do you think?
Can we, like, if we walk at 5:30 and just do this
Yeah.
end of, like,
Yeah.
up to,
Can people do 5:30? I don't know if that works with people.
that gives us an hour.
Yeah, okay,
We
we'll start at
should be
5:30.
able to walk down.
That would
and
be on
up.
June 8th.
June 8th, and then we do have other public hearings posted at 6:30, so why don't we schedule you for 7:30? That way you're not waiting around. So June 8th, like a motion, does that work for you, folks? Okay, I'm seeing nodding, thank you. So I'll take a motion to continue the public hearing on June 8th at 7:30.
So moved.
So moved, do I have a second? Okay. I think we can just vote this, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, great. Okay, thank you very much. We will resolve those questions, and Mark may be in touch with some questions about and encourage you to be in touch with the pole owner about whether or not the diameter can be modified. So, Mark will be in touch with you. Okay,
Thank you.
thank
Yeah,
you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, I know this present out of my mouth. Okay, update from Karen Sonnerbord. Isabella, we hope you'll stay, but
Yeah, thank you.
great. Karen, welcome.
Hello there.
Give us,
Okay.
you want me to share the new version, right?
Yes, if you could share the new PowerPoint, and while you're doing that, I can kind of get started.
Okay.
We're updating plans that were done in 2015, and then 2020 was the last one. And I finished the first couple sections of the housing production plan, which I plan on just providing kind of key takeaways from that this evening. But besides going over that, which I plan to do expeditiously and get your input, I'd also like to have a conversation about next steps, particularly the public process that you want to go through, as well as a little bit from you on your thoughts about a potential town-owned property that might be suitable for affordable housing. I know it's limited, but it is a required component of a housing production plan to offer some examples. And then any thoughts that you might have at this juncture on strategies to address the housing needs that we've kind of assimilated in the housing needs assessment. I do know that some congratulations are in order, given your recent town meeting approvals. And one of the things that we certainly will do in the plan is to show the progress that has been made, including some strategies that were in the last plan that have in fact been implemented. So with that, why don't we just go, unless you have any questions, why don't we just start going through the brief presentation.
So yeah, I do have a question.
Sure.
This is Peter. The items that you just mentioned that have been accomplished since the last housing production plan, I noticed those as well. Would it make sense to share them at the top, just to allow us all to understand what has been done as we frame what might be done?
Well, maybe we can certainly do that. I did include at the end of the presentation the strategies that were included in the last plan. So maybe we can get to that then.
Okay, yep, that,
Just get through the first part. If we want to scoot back to the strategies and you want to focus on that, we can do that.
okay, that makes sense.
To scoot,
Right.
to go
Now,
right
why don't you go
ahead.
through your
Yeah, go through it.
presentations and then.
Oh, okay, all right. So next slide. Oops. Oh, God. So this is just a brief slide on what is affordable housing, and this is based on the Chapter 40D definition. So there is that affordability threshold that we talk about all the time, about that 30% of income level, that if you're spending more on housing costs than that, you're by kind of traditional definition spending too much and have cost burdens. The Chapter 40B definition is you have to meet a number of requirements to be included in this subsidized housing inventory that counts towards that 10% affordability threshold, or annual housing production goals that we will talk just briefly about. And those requirements are that the units have to be subsidized, either directly subsidized by some public entity or approved through a subsidizing agency. They have to be deed restricted, and we're talking about in perpetuity unless there's a good reason not to go through in perpetuity. They have to be affirmatively marketed, and they have to be affordable households earning at or below 80% of area median income. And the AMI limits were just recently reduced, and just to give you an idea, for a household of 3, the limit now is $123,400. So they keep going up. So it's we're really talking about moderate income. Go to the next slide.
Can I just stop on, I have 2 questions on this, or
Yeah.
2 comments.
Sure.
The first is of the 200, of the, 2,300 year-round housing units. But we know that we have a number of housing units, if I look at the assessor's database, that are not year-round. There are a lot of people who do not live here year-round who have a house.
Yeah.
So we really don't have 2,300 year-round housing units. I don't know how many
No,
we have,
no,
but there are a
based
lot of
on-
people who own homes who are not residents.
Well, this is it has to be based on census data. It has to be based on the decennial census. Everything stems from that. So whatever figure they came up with, we have to go with. It's not like you can, argue with it.
Okay,
This is the census count that we're stuck with.
Yeah.
And the next count will be when the 2030 figures are released.
Okay, so 2293 is census data and not the number of assessed housing units. Is that right? So if I were to look at the number of housing units that the assessor has, might be 2,500.
Yeah, and we have some information on, assessments by property type. But no, this is a definite U.S. Census figure.
Sarah, are you thinking people who have a primary residence in Florida
Florida.
for tax reasons?
Yep, and they live here
Few months.
5.5 months a year. And there's a,
Yeah, but this is the count of the actual number of units, regardless of how they're occupied.
so I guess my point is,
It's,
no, she's
it's
saying
based-
it's not, it's the number of people who fill out a census that say that they live in a unit and are resident here.
yeah, it's really based on, the total number of units minus those units that have been identified as occasional for recreational purposes. And so that's that's the figure that comes out.
Okay,
There is a subtraction there of people who have basically said that they don't live in the units year round. If they're lying, you know, that's the
That's a
problem,
different-
but, you know, what can we do?
But in any case, we're in worse shape probably than, right, because that would only mean we have more units and less affordable.
well,
Or
or the
percentage
flip,
or
I was
something.
thinking that the denominator, if you're, I don't know what it does to our numbers, it just, it's because, but it's, okay, so it's year-round housing units as opposed, so the number of
People who.
housing units in Manchester is
Census.
higher than that.
Census here.
Yeah.
Means that they declare their residency
Residency.
here.
Right, okay. And then,
So we
okay,
have,
go ahead.
so we have the, you have a gap of 114 units to meet the 10% state target
Mhm.
without considering future growth. Just, you know, I think you are aware there are a couple proposed projects that would take you way over the 10% level if they do in fact come through. Just also to point out on the SHI that almost all the units are rentals, mostly for seniors, and most do involve the housing authority.
Okay.
That's a question
So,
about the.
next slide, just to go over housing
Go ahead,
production.
John had a quick
Sorry,
question.
sorry, Karen, can I ask a quick question? So we added 5 units from whenever,
2020.
Yeah. okay.
No,
So we-
actually 2015 to 2020, that's what this is, right? 2016 to 2020? Or is this current?
This is the most current list
Okay, so
from
from
the,
2020.
and the 115 units was actually what was included in the 2020 housing production plan.
So I guess my question just was, where were those 5 units added? Were they affordable units as part of a larger project? Were they added strictly as straight affordable units?
They
Or-
haven't been added. The
They have not been added.
115 units were part of the plan in 2020.
So where it says
So they're-
up from 110,
Oh,
115.
Oh, that was before 2020.
yeah,
This is
2015.
current, I think.
And to tell you the truth, I'd have to go back to, I'd have to go back
That's
to
not on the
the,
It's not because the units weren't affirmatively marketed,
So is this from 15 to 2020 or 15?
which is gonna be, I think we can do that that way.
I just provided a comparison of like back in 2015, you had 110. 2020, you had 115. 2025, 26, you have 115.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, we'll go on and then we can come back.
Yeah, sure. So we went through this before in the last meeting, but basically, based on housing production program guidelines from the state, in order to submit a plan for housing production and to get approval of the units, you have to have a plan that meets all the requirements of the state, and you have to show the production of 0.5% of the year-round housing count in order to get what's called certification or safe harbor, and that's 11 units for Manchester. And then if you get 1%, you get okay, so safe harbor for 1 year for 11 units. You can get a safe harbor for 2 years if you produce 22 units, or the equivalent of, actually it's like 22 units, equivalent of 1% of the year-round housing stock. And that's just kind of the basic incentive for communities, besides good planning and having a roadmap for housing, an incentive to be able to, if you have safe harbor, for the ZBA to deny a comprehensive permit application it deems inappropriate without the developer's ability to appeal that decision. So next slide. This is just basically a list of the major components that are required by the state as part of the housing production plan. Executive summary, comprehensive housing needs assessment. We're kind of there on those pieces. And then the next section that we'll be preparing is updating that, the challenges for creating affordable housing. And then the actual annual housing production goals over the next 5 years, and then the housing strategies to address those goals and the needs that have been identified in the housing needs assessment. There are also, I listed these here, I don't know if I have to read through all of them, but all of these categories have to be addressed in the HPP under the strategies. We have done that in the past, but we still have to, when we get to the next sections on the goals and strategies, we're going to have to make sure we pick the checklist of all these categories. Next slide. Under just these very brief demographic and economic trends updated through the HPP housing needs assessment. Some recent population gains with projected declines going forward. After 1980, as you know, there were some declines in population, and based on the 2024 census figure, the population total is really back up to the 1980 level, about 5,400 residents. They're expected after a period to decline again to 4,900 by 2030, and lower than that 2040 and 2050. Not surprising is the continued trend towards losing younger residents and gaining older ones, which is also predicted to continue. Just to give you some idea, those under 18 decreased by 23% between 1980 and 2024. And that's in the context of the total population decreasing by only 1%. Those 65 and older, though, increased by 141% during that period, which kind of gives you a glimpse of some of the real demographic shifts that are continuing to happen. Increase in family households to 75% of all households in 2024. Very high median income of $206,369. I mean, Manchester's always had among the highest incomes in the state, but this actually even surprised me a little bit. Just to give you some other context, the county's median income was $103,000, and the state's was almost $105,000. In 2010, Manchester's $105,000. So we're talking about doubling in a decade and a half.
So I think I have a question about that in your report. That it's not, you haven't done an inflation adjusted.
All these figures are adjusted by inflation. The census figures are adjusted by inflation.
Okay, those are.
It says on the chart, top of the chart, the inflation adjusted figures.
Okay. And then the other question I had, because when I was on the school committee, we did, we used the UMass, we had to use the UMass data, and it didn't come to fruition. If you look back at our last housing production plan, or maybe the one, did we do one before that, or was last, okay, two
No, we
plans
did one
before.
that last one, yeah.
Okay, was the same prediction that we would by now be decreasing, and So that's the first question. And then if our population is going to decrease for whatever reasons UMass thinks it's going to decrease,
Yeah.
and the production plan says we're gonna add 100 units, like, how do those things
Well,
square?
They're basically looking at the status quo. They're looking at, births and deaths and what's happened kind of in the past. If in fact, there is a surge of housing, there will be a clear increase in population that will be more than what they're probably predicting. These projections are, all based on lots of assumptions. And even the various forecasts themselves have different assumptions.
Right.
So, it is not a science. It's kind of an art to it to a certain extent. And it's interesting when it's pretty true to what happens, but often it's going to be off. It's just the way
So, Karen, can I ask
forecasts are.
so the assumptions that you're using are assumptions for the state, it sounds like, that are then applied to Manchester, is that correct?
The state,
Well,
what do you mean?
what?
I'm
UMass.
ask again, I'm not certain I understand your
So
question.
the assumptions that you're including in your analysis come from what study, or where are you pulling them? Are they
The
statewide?
projections are, I included some from MAPC to 2030, and I included the UMass Donahue Institute projections too. They're both included in the drafts. So they differ somewhat.
How
So
does
wait,
it,
can I just, if I can just finish, yeah. So to your point, Sarah, there are some unique data points that we're aware of in Manchester that are counter to what we're seeing statewide. And I just wonder if we can we provide, or can we discuss your assumptions before you complete your analysis, just to, learn more?
They're not my assumptions. I'm just using
Well,
the projections
yeah.
that are typically used for.
Which are assumptions. So
I'm
let
not
me,
making assumptions.
aren't they
I'm using
assumptions?
their
Projections are
assumptions.
right?
No, but the assumptions generate the projections.
Right. So I guess let me try and ask it a little different way,
Talk in
Karen.
a different way because I'm not understanding.
Okay. All right. Well, it just seems like some of the numbers that you've already shared for like the 2030 population in Manchester of 4,900 sounds light considering the direction that it seems like we're going. And I'm just, a difference, that's pretty sizable. That's like 10% from what it is now to where it's going. And I just wonder how that ultimately impacts the analysis.
Well, when I actually, in some cases where there was census data that didn't make sense to me, I actually included that it was surprising and questionable. If we want to add something in this piece on projections that given X, Y, and Z, these predictions tend to be most likely to undercount what will actually happen, that's one thing. However, between 1980 and 2020, there was a real decline in population. So it's happened before.
Right.
And with the baby boomers passing away, sadly enough, for some of us, there's going to be likely another dip. If there is going to be serious housing growth, which might actually happen, we could actually put something into the housing needs assessment that says that with pending potential housing development, these figures could turn around and the decline would be much less, potentially. If you feel that would be helpful, we can do that.
Just throwing it out there.
Okay. I think we'll also, I know we all are gonna have a lot of comments that we can also funnel to Mark. I have a whole,
please,
a whole
please.
bunch of picky things. So, John has another question. We have time tonight to delve into this, so hopefully.
I was just gonna
Right.
suggest that it would be useful if we were able to compare the population growth either, historically or projected for Manchester relative to something like the growth of the state. Because then we would have an idea, well, gosh, the state's growing in population, but we're decreasing population. So there's something unique about our situation that's causing that.
Yeah, I mean, I can easily do that. The growth for the state has been about 7%,
Which is.
Yeah.
but I can easily add
I
something like
I
that.
have a theory, but I'll wait till later.
Yeah, I have some theories too. Okay, all right, we'll keep going and we can,
Hold on a minute.
did we finish this up?
Hold on 1 second. I mean, I just, where's my Zoom? Somehow my Zoom, here, no? Zoom.
Oh, she's lost
Zoom.
us.
I lost, somehow the Zoom fell off the
We can still see you, but you can't
Zoom,
see
my
us.
notes,
And there we go.
my,
We can see you.
oh, that's good. Yeah, somehow the Zoom, I don't have to look at the slides to do the thing. The next slide just shows the change in income distribution from census data, 1999, 2010, and 2024, and you can see by that basically the numbers have gone down for each kind of group of income range until you get to the 150 plus, when you see that big spike, which is now 65% of all households, and then in comparison, it's 33% for the county and the state. So that is a major change that, here we go, got it, okay, here we go. Anyway, next slide,
So it's always been.
gets to housing.
It's just dramatically less.
Lots of rental units, which you don't really like to see, because we're talking about affordability and some diversity of housing on these plans. There was loss of 130 rental units between 1980 and 2024, and that represents 20% of the town's rental housing stock versus a gain of 346 owner-occupied units. The median single-family house price was $1,350,000. This is as of the end of 2025, and this is through the Warren Group's banker and tradesman data. In comparison, it was $780,500 in July 2015. The median, this is census, median gross rent was $1,811, but this figure includes the units in the subsidized housing inventory, which comprise 20% of all rentals. So it's skewed down, and then market rents are much higher, and talking about at least $3,000.
Can you pull out on that one, can you pull out the units that are on the SHI? Because I thought that, an SHI, some of them, the rent that the SLV developer was gonna charge for a unit was like $3,000 if it was on the SHI. So I'd like to know, I flagged that as, one of the things I suspect, this is one of my assumptions, is that we have a fair number of rentals in town that are not on the SHI, but are below market rate.
Well,
I mean, I
that's
know
not
that there are.
surprising completely because, in fact, my contention has been that owners, particularly owner occupants who have rental units, generally or often will have below market rents because they want to keep good tenants.
Right.
And so they won't be completely, jamming the units up. It's when properties turn over that, and they're refinanced, that rents kind of can go up higher in smaller multifamily properties. But, talking to folks in real estate about the private sector rentals, there aren't a lot of listings. A lot of people have to rely on word of mouth because they know somebody who knows somebody. So it's hard to get a really kind of clear signal. And the other thing is that there are winter rentals, and then you've got the seasonal rentals, and which tend to drive up prices because they have a real effect on supply of the year-round stock. So it's complicated. And I try to get at some kind of scenario in the analysis on housing costs and affordability.
But your median gross rent is from census data,
It's
right?
according to 2024 census
So
estimates,
it's what
and I'm
people
saying it
report.
is lower because it includes subsidized housing inventory unit, and that includes, most of them are housing authority units.
Right, but what is the rent
So
there?
those rents are low.
It's a third of your income, so that everyone's paying a different.
Everybody's playing different. So it would be helpful, I think, for me to take those out and see what the census data says our rents are, because
Well, we have
me-
analysis of rents in the plan, in the housing
Yeah.
needs assessment. There is, gross rents by the rental range, and numbers that are in that range,
Okay.
in the housing cost information.
sometimes I just worry that if by putting that if you put things on the SHI, the rents will go up it will raise then, 5 years later, we're gonna see if we add our 11 units per year at, the SLV's rate of that median's gonna go higher.
So I think the issue is that when a property goes on the SHI, through the 40B process.
Yeah.
All the units count as affordable.
No, I know.
Even only 20% of them are actually affordable.
I know, but even those that are affordable,
They're
big
not-
A affordable,
They're not 3,000 a month, they're like 20.
I think that's
No,
what
they're
he's.
2,100 for a two-bedroom, something like that. 3,000 for a market rate, maybe even more.
I think he was gonna charge more than that,
So,
whatever.
Chris, that's correct, that if SLV builds their project, all of their units
Yes.
count, even though
Yes.
only
Yes.
20%?
That's right.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah,
That's what the 40B law says, it's stupid, but that's what.
Right, so it doesn't really, it helps housing production, but not affordable. You just get a piece.
right. But I would say that 20% of all rentals on the SHI mostly aren't big 40Bs. They're housing authority units.
Right.
With some exceptions. There's some off-site units, small developments. So those rents tend to be low.
Sorry, can I ask one follow-up to that
Sure.
about SLV? Say they add, I forget what it was, 100 something.
109.
That,
35, whatever.
that increases the total number of units in our town. Therefore, the 10%,
We need it.
We'd meet,
Also-
we'd meet the 10%.
we'd meet it, but our, just adding their units would increase the total number of our units, but because there's enough, it would meet it, it would get us to the safe harbor.
Mhm.
But, what am I trying to suggest here?
The average unit rate would be.
Well, if,
So this is an issue that the Affordable Housing Trust is grappling with.
Yeah.
Which is affordable with a capital A versus
Right.
affordable.
Right,
And
but it's still
Low
very
capital
high.
A affordability isn't solving our problem.
So then
Too high.
the average rental rate SHI rental rate would be totally skewed if SLV comes online.
Sure, yes, it would be. Well, yes, the SHI units would seem to have very high rents.
Well, yeah, well, they're gonna include, 75% will be market units.
Yeah,
And you're gonna get credits for all of them, but only 25% will be, actually affordable. And that was a state policy to try to get small towns to provide carrots for small towns to do multifamily rental housing.
and the other
I
thing
mean,
is,
that was the purpose of it.
and the capital A affordable at 80% AMI, those rents are pretty high,
Right, that's my.
They are,
as opposed to 60% or 50% of AMI, which is
Yes.
more typical.
yes. That's right. So, going on high affordability gaps, I mean, you have a median, usually the definition of affordability gap is the difference between the median single-family home price and what a median income household can afford. Given that you have both high single-family home price and you've got very high median income, and so that the gap still is almost $500,000. If you look at those just at the AMI, the 80% of AMI level, the gap doubles to over $800,000. It becomes very extreme. And then cost burdens, these are households that are spending more than 30% of their income on housing costs, and that includes 74% of those with incomes at or below 80% AMI limits. And it also includes 39% that have severe cost burdens and that they are spending at least half, not more, of their income on housing costs, whether it be for rental or for ownership.
So if our population has increased and it's 65 plus, 65 and over,
Fixed income therefore,
what?
fixed income.
Right, so our senior population tends to have lower earned income,
Sure.
but may have assets
That's right.
other places, one of which might be their house. So it's, that affordability gap may be artificially large because of our demographic. So if our demographic was growing a lot in the 40 to 60 age bracket, that's your biggest earning years typically. And so I think our affordability gap might be artificially
Inflated.
low. I mean, it's hard to know, but it seems like, you know, and maybe you have this elsewhere that I didn't delve deeply enough into by age of resident.
We do have median incomes by age range in the plan. And obviously those on fixed incomes have a significantly lower median than those in the prime of the working life. So those figures are included. There's some more income data by age range in the plan. And there's also kind of cost burden information by types of households in the plan, in the needs assessment too.
Okay.
And income range. So there is, if you look under in the affordability analysis, there's some figures on that.
Okay.
This chart, I think, really shows the increase in housing prices. This is from assessor's data. The bottom line, actually it's hard to say, is like the yellow line is fiscal year 20 data by numbers of units assessed within various price ranges. And the top one, because like this big curve at the end, that's fiscal year 26. So you see the accumulation of units in various ranges go from kind of a high level of between 500 and 800,000 to the number is going up past the million point two level. I mean, it's it is kind of dramatic.
Yeah.
The shift that's occurring. The next slide. So, I mean, put down and trying to distill this information and come up with targeted needs, and still continuing that rental housing is a top priority for both families and for seniors. Rental lets you, when you actually can do affordable housing and financing, you can get often some units in the lower income tiers. It's meant to diversify the housing stock somewhat. There is 0% vacancy rate for rental housing to make up for some of the loss of rentals that have been occurring, and almost all state subsidies are for rentals. And once again, if there's an interest in safe harbor and getting beyond 10% or meeting housing production goals, all units in a 40B rental project count towards the SHI. But there's still a need for first-time home ownership as on the town's housing agenda to help diversify an increasingly aging population, to attract young families and give them the ability to live in town. And there are very few subsidized ownership units in Manchester. There's also a need to integrate some handicapped accessibility support services, given increasingly aging population and the numbers of folks with special needs. And one of the questions I asked as a note in the draft is whether you wanted to potentially add another need, which is kind of the need for resources to help folks make important improvements to their homes, given the age of the housing stock. Council on Aging thinks this is an issue for older adults who own their home and the ability to have resources to maintain them. So that was just a question that I thought you might want to consider.
There's a wonderful program in DC called Christmas in April, in which people would go to a senior's house and do all the repairs that were needed. Plumbers, painters, pick up the yard, the whole works. It was really a wonderful program of community.
Was that in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, Christmas in April.
That's great. Well, there are some resources. It's hard, you really can't use CPA money for home improvements because there's a state rule that basically says you have to, if you don't use CPA for acquisition and construction, you can't use it for home improvement. But there are other towns that have found ways to support small grant programs, that type of thing. It's just something for you to consider, whether you want to add that or not. The next slides, these, I just listed the ones that we had in the last HPP. obviously, you've already established an affordable housing trust fund. It's a matter of capitalizing it, securing sufficient professional support. We asked for, talked about a part-time person potentially, and ongoing community education, which is kind of a no-brainer about any kind of housing initiative the town would want to pursue. Next slide is just give you an idea. Next slide
trying.
is
It says it's
It
14
says
and
it
14.
changed, yeah.
relates to zoning.
Well,
Doesn't-
this one, this version doesn't,
Right.
let's see what the other version
Can
is.
you- No.
No, hold on. Let me see what the other version is.
Well, I can just, while you're trying to find it, the
No,
zoning
the one you
strategy.
sent me, didn't, only had 14 slides, so.
Well, this was slide number 12.
Well.
Slide
Zoning
number 12
strategies, I see it in the folder.
Okay, well, it's in the folder.
Yeah,
Alright, do this. View.
so anyway, the first one was to pursue chapter 40 or 40S smart growth zoning.
There you go.
Given that
that's
you've been going through, you're going toward, you went through the MBTA,
Sorry.
We sure did.
so that,
Sorry.
that's okay. So pursue 40R, 40S, those are smart growth zoning districts that have some financial incentives from the state, and they were recommended in the last plan.
So,
Modify
can you just
multifamily
say what those
requirements.
are? What, 40R, we went through a whole long thing with this MAPC, who was,
Yeah,
and they identified a area of town that didn't meet the 40R. We went through I wasn't on the board, but there was a lot of meetings, and MAPC identified a site that didn't meet the 40R basic criteria. As being near enough to the train, I think it was the problem, right? Wasn't that the problem?
That was part
And
of it.
they never.
Well, it doesn't have to be transit oriented to get the 40R, but you did go through the MBTA zoning, so you have kind of set aside part of that,
Is that 40?
as well as the next piece, which is modify multifamily requirements. There might be, you've just gone through downtown and harbor changes.
Yeah.
And then modified accessory apartment bylaw, where we went through and had to, deal with the state requirements on ADUs. So you've made a lot of and then you've also did the senior housing bylaw. All of this will be highlighted in the plan, but we also have to include some, based on the categories of strategies, some other zoning-related approaches to be included in the plan.
So none of those to date have, by your numbers, added units on the SHI. They
Not
have
yet.
a requirement, some of them have a requirement, if you have over a threshold, your fifth unit and your 10th unit has to be big A affordable, but the applicants heretofore have stopped short of doing that. We can talk about why, but we've done those zoning strategies and we don't have any results if the metric is solely numbers of units on the SHI. Now it's soon, so hard to know how long, but I think rationally it's going to be a modest increase in units on the SHI, probably not 11 a year.
I actually think
Yeah.
we'll have the opposite problem where we'll add units
And then our,
that are market rate,
Right.
which will increase our total number of units
Units.
and make our percentage less.
right, so it's almost like. Yeah.
Which is partly, I mean, it was, I think, a result of the way that we went about the 3A zoning, for example, trying to encourage small projects that can fit in these small lots, right? It's,
So they had to be within a mile of or a half
Yeah.
mile of train.
Yeah.
So.
but it's then hard to get 5
5
units
Right,
and get
Or
that
10.
one affordable
right, yeah.
for
This
these
is
same
not
people.
easy. I mean, it's certainly the case. You had a little bit of luck with your inclusionary zoning bylaw. And the other thing that we put in the plan is, while we're focused on those units that account towards the SHI, there's also recognition that units that help serve a need, help diversify the housing stock, maybe not market, but a little bit more affordable, are also something that can help address local needs. We, acknowledged with the accessory apartment bylaw that those units were not going to be SHI units, but they could really serve some needs for the smaller households and potentially provide income to those owners who are really scraping by, just barely scraping by. But once again, it's a matter of looking at kind of where you see like the next steps as far as the focus on anything related to zoning and regulation.
So Karen, I assume you're gonna be talking to the Affordable Housing Trust at some point?
Yeah, I'm meeting with them June 16th.
Okay, great. So one of the things we're gonna be talking about there is Powder House Apartments.
Oh, yes.
uh,
Yes,
Which is an
and,
accomplishment, but because of the state's bizarre marketing requirements, those units can't go onto the SHI until they go through an affirmative marketing process.
Yeah, they can only really be counted after they've done all those requirements, including affirmative marketing, and they turn over.
That's
So
right,
you
exactly.
can't count occupied units, you have to wait till they turn over.
So that general affirmative marketing plan is a real obstacle to creating small numbers of affordable units. Because people who apply to the to get their units on the SHI have to spend a lot of money to go through this lottery process and all the rigmarole that's required, monitoring, so forth, which they can't afford to do with a small project. And I think that's something that the state should spend some time thinking about. Ways to make the process easier and more affordable for small developers.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that before. I think that is an obstacle. Maybe this is something the Housing Trust might want to subsidize.
Well, we've talked about it, and another possibility is a regional approach to this,
Yeah.
where some regional agency, which might already exist,
Yeah,
could do all this
that has
work.
happened in certain places. They have a ready renters list or a ready buyers list, and it's been done on a regional basis.
So,
We can add that to the plan. I mean, that makes sense to me.
Also, I heard of a project, an affordable project on Cape Cod, where 6 towns got together.
Yes.
Funded one project. And I
Yeah,
wonder,
they've done it, and Dennis had a project, Orleans had a couple projects, Cape Cod Village, and towns, actually, numbers of towns, actually provided some money to support those units because they believed that people in their community might benefit from them.
so what
so
town gets to
fully
put them on the SHI when that happens?
Well, they forego that, yes. It's a matter of, they felt it was worthwhile to some extent to provide some support.
So that's the small A versus the big A, I guess, for affordability.
Yeah, the town that has the units physically in their community, those big A units count on their SHI. The other towns, I think they're just looking at potentially meeting some needs and maybe some quid pro quo down the road.
So the big developer comes in with a 40B of 100 units, 20 of which are big A affordable.
Well,
25.
Town, or
25%.
25?
Yeah.
So then 100 units count for the town.
That's right.
So a little developer who comes in with 10 units and makes, well, for argument's sake, 2.5 or 3 of them affordable, we only get to count 3.
That's right.
No, you get to count, if they
it's-
go through 40B, you would count all of them at their rentals.
But
If it's a 40B.
Homeownership,
If it's
you
40B,
can
but
only
it,
count the actual units.
Yeah,
but it wouldn't be a 40B, most likely.
Yeah, but if it's not a 40B, we only get to count.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or whatever the inclusionary zoning bylaw is, what, 15%,
20%.
20%.
20%? Yeah, you know, yeah. Or the other thing is, you could provide some subsidies through your housing trust.
Yeah, we've actually done that during COVID. The trust subsidized a bunch of rents and mortgages for people who became unemployed.
Oh, kind of an emergency fund?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
but that doesn't help us get on the
No,
SHI, which
no.
seems to be the only metric.
Well, it shouldn't be the,
I
I mean, we're thinking is the small A is more important than the big A.
I agree, but
So one issue is that the people, like you want mission-driven folks to come in and develop these projects, right?
Yes.
In
Yes.
fact, if you could get someone to come in and do 100 units and they're all affordable because that's their mission,
Yes.
that's the best case.
That's absolutely right, and you can get down to those lower income tiers, the 60%, the 50%, and even the 30%
But then those
level.
same folks aren't doing 3 units here, 2
No.
units there, because it doesn't work.
well, that's like Harbor Light,
Right.
we can't.
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
But
right.
I wonder, I do remember some conversations in which they function with the state by how many units they manage. It's not actually how many units they own, but how many units they manage for their affordability process. So I wonder if someone like Harbor Light or North Shore CDC, for example, they own now,
Powder House.
Powder House, and they're looking for more units because it's tough for them to manage one project.
Right,
They want to manage 20 units in a town.
Sure.
right.
Yeah,
Could we convince them, like, let's say there's a person who owns, like the place where my dad used to live where there's 3 units. They're all condos, by the way, so it's not easy. But if you could convince one of those owners to let CDC manage their unit so that we could count it as an affordable unit, takes the burden off the owner.
you couldn't count it unless,
It was deed
if the
restricted.
units were occupied and they were just taking over units, that's not gonna count. You
Yeah.
gotta do all those things.
You're gonna do deed restricted, and you have to go
Permanent
through.
marketing,
Right.
and they can't be
But
occupied.
Would the CDC be willing, would North Shore CDC be willing to do that for each little units across the town?
No.
Seems like a lot of work.
No, you could do a scattered site development though, and we could identify
Yeah.
a bunch of sites, and they can
Yeah.
all be put together for financing and done that way.
So I guess then, the big picture is the way we've set up our 3A zoning, the way we've talked about, well, our zoning in general, because it only allows 4 units to be built. Zero
We just keep
Zero
digging ourselves a hole.
So our strategy at the moment is making it much worse.
Yeah.
We don't yet have a
Yeah.
strategy that would make it better. Unless we would convince someone like the SLV to do all affordable or all senior. I think the all senior thing actually,
They have to be on the SHI though.
Yeah.
Would be even.
So it's a mission-driven developer that we'd have to seek in order to do that.
Sure, which is what the trust has been trying to do for 15 years.
It seems to me like that the bar that the state has set is so high
It's counterproductive.
for the, in terms of number of units for the town, and then the procedural barriers. Both of those barriers are so high that the marginal increases of homes, an ADU here, a 3-lot, three in the chod or whatever, we're just kind of, it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts, but even if all of those 3 units were mission driven, it was easy to get that 5th one on the SHI. It's still, the burden is so high that it almost feels impossible. I mean,
It takes a meaningful, a big project.
it
I
takes
think
a
that's the only way to do
That's
it.
the only
That's
option.
what's
It's the only way
happening.
you're gonna get there.
That's what's happening.
That's no
That's what's
cheat.
happening. A lot of
Right.
communities have these 250 unit,
Right.
large projects in their community that help them get to
Check the
that,
box.
because they count all
Right.
that big number,
That's right.
and that helps them get to
That's
that
right.
numbers. And,
Right.
So, I mean, let's just talk briefly about, I know there's limited town-owned property, but, can we just have a brief conversation? Because if you had some town-owned property, of some size, you do an RFP, you could, potentially get a mission-driven developer to come and do the project, and have it, all the units count, but all the units be affordable.
I mean, I think that's what the Affordable Housing
Yeah.
Trust has been thinking and
Yeah.
looking and,
Yeah, ideally, that would be
I mean,
a good
The
thing.
the trouble is, the town is trying to relocate the DPW and the fire department and the police department. And so every piece of land that's at all buildable is being looked at for those things. And it's very hard, maybe the DPW moves and we can get hold of that site, but then maybe they want that for the fire department. I mean,
it's
it's
like
just
a
a
shell game.
free-for-all, yeah. It's just
Yeah, it
crazy.
doesn't make it any easier, huh?
There are a couple of possibilities, and one of them was a development site from 30 years ago, which fell through but might come back. And it's a piece of town-owned land underneath a water tower, essentially, which could accommodate 40, 50 units. So maybe that's worth really pursuing. The other possibility is the town is pursuing a senior center on a condominium arrangement with the Masons. And maybe part of that senior center could be some senior housing as well. Everyone poo-poos it, says it's gonna be too hard, but guess what? Everything we're gonna do is gonna be too hard, so.
The other property would be the Housing Authority property at, up on
Yeah.
Pine Street, what's that called?
Newport Park.
Yeah.
There's about an acre plus. And-
Yeah.
And some of that development could be redeveloped with
Yeah.
a new building.
Yeah,
And then you remove some of the older buildings and build a
We
second.
need a functional housing authority to make that happen, and now maybe we do, so.
But-
Looking
but that
better.
is-
I don't know.
yeah.
I think the
Well, some
plains is.
Housing authorities have done redevelopment work, there are models out there, it's not like it's easy, but,
Does seem like it. But there was an RFP put out, wasn't there, that
Twice.
twice so at least in terms of strategies, we've put out an RFP twice to try to redevelop those.
I think at the time, the housing authority wasn't
Wasn't
really
excited about it.
cooperative, right?
They weren't a good partner.
And it was a very ambitious RFP.
It was ambitious.
It didn't really focus on one particular development and certain project.
Yeah.
It was
Might
very,
want to take it
It
out
was
of.
trying to get the scale, big enough scale to attract a big developer.
so,
Yeah,
but at least we have 3 properties you can
You can
write
put on the
about.
list.
And the fourth, John just mentioned the fourth, which is a small property, but, what's it called again?
Plains, it's
Oh, not
actually,
the Plains,
it's actually bigger than.
yeah.
What's it
Plains
called?
is really tight. Housing Authority has the third property.
Unloading place.
Oh,
for
loading
electric
place.
vehicle.
Plains.
Place, which could be redeveloped or added some units to. It's rather small, it's on septic, but, that might be, and then we are looking at a property owned by, power company. So it's not town-owned, but it's, utility-owned property, so.
Okay.
All right, and back on this slide.
Housing Trust about this stuff too.
The building inspector does have, when Peter and I met with him, he said there'd been 11, did he say 11 new accessory dwelling unit applications since we modified the,
Did you say that?
I think it was that many. Anyway, he said that he was.
Oh, good.
There's
So
been a number.
A number of them.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
thought
know.
it was more like 7.
No, it's more than 2. It's more than,
Less
it's
than 11.
less.
Some
Some number.
So it's never gonna be a big
But it was
wave,
7
but
in
it's
the
good to
morning,
see
so
that something's happening.
Okay.
We are, I mean, I've had a number of people come in and talk to me about it, so there are some other ones in the works as well, so.
Good. Maybe just look at the last couple of slides. Development strategy, pursue mixed use TOD, you've kind of done. Goes down, we have to include something on public property, which we just discussed, and support small scale infill development conversions, we can talk a little bit about. And then next slide is next steps. I do want to hear more about any other suggestions, but one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is the process of next steps. If you get your comments to Mark, I'll go through and I'll update the versions that we have now. The question is, I think it was the 2020 plan, or at least the 2015, we had a, kind of a community housing workshop where we presented the draft housing needs assessment, and then we did some, small group brainstorming exercise to get input from local leaders and residents on, what their perspectives were with respect to needs and how to address them. And the question is, do you want to do a process like that, or should we just move on to the next sections and draft those and then have a community meeting? It's really up to you. I go with the flow on how you see the process unfolding.
Well, we're getting good at doing community forums.
Well, good.
It seems to me, the last time we did this, Karen, was 2020, and there was almost no publicity about it. It went through the planning board, the select board looked at it and said, that's great, and that was the end of it.
Yeah.
And I think things have changed a lot in the last 5 years. And I think there's much more awareness of housing problems in the town.
Great.
So I think it might generate quite a bit of interest.
Okay.
I think a lot of people are gonna have questions about the 40B projects, and that could turn into a big focus of a conversation like this.
I think
Sure.
you're absolutely right.
Like Gordon Woods, for example.
That's gonna be a big one. Yeah, a lot of chatter about that. I think a lot of people are confused about the 40B projects and the process entirely.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get a lot of questions.
Well, there was a lot
Yeah,
of
I'm fine about it. I
hostility.
just don't, it becomes, if it's just focused on the 40Bs and a lot of disgruntled people, it's a problem.
Yeah.
That's what it would be.
Yeah, that's why I think maybe if we did something maybe not quite as big workshop, but something that was more like an online, forum like we've done before, where we advertise it specifically for this. And that, because we've gotten good at getting the word out of what it is and be very specific to this. Not to 40B, not to any development proposals. Keep it as a simple online forum. I mean, realistically, I don't think we're gonna get a whole lot of new ideas. I mean, we're a small community with a very limited thing. This is the third time around. We've
Yeah.
done a lot of the things the last few years that you can do to try and create housing in a kind of confined, we're like working in a shoebox, right? You know, trying to build, you know, wherever we can find a little bit of space. So I think maybe trying to keep it as a confined, you know, very focused forum, and maybe just an online thing. You know, people, I mean, hybrid, people can come in as well, but, you know, we do it that way, I think might be better in order to kind of,
Yeah, it seems to me that people don't understand, I mean, you know, I don't fully understand all of the ins and outs of this, and that understanding what are these acronyms, what do they mean? I mean, I guess from where I sit, I'm pretty frustrated that we can have this lovely list of all these zoning things, check, 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 and it gets us nowhere on the SHI goal. And even if we get 11 units a year, I mean, we get safe harbor for a year or two, it just seems like the policy box is so constrained that for,
Yeah.
so one of the questions I was gonna ask, that's my frustration. My question was going to be, is, other towns that are like us, you know, in terms of, we have a lot of amenities here. It's not surprising that our land prices are high, and then our housing prices are high, and then people are improving houses left, right, and center. You know, they buy a house and then they rip it down or expand it or put in, you know, amenities. But what other communities like us, Dover, Sherburne, Wellesley, Hamilton, Newburyport, how are their plans different? What are they doing? What are their strategies? Or does their plan look similar? How have they been successful in meeting, you know, who's been successful when they're
I think you-
constrained like us,
Yeah.
besides that 40B, a giant 40B?
Well, I do think that if there's town-owned property and you can build on it and you drive the terms and conditions of that development and you do rental and you can count all the units, if you get a mission-based developer in where you can get it lower income tiers, you know, those have been projects that have really added to the SHI.
And who has done that?
There have been, what?
Who has been successful? What towns?
Generally, bigger cities are more
Yes,
successful.
small
So,
towns.
I think I saw it in the 2020.
Places on the Cape, for example, I mean, just did another plan for Hanover. And they had some town-owned land and they're moving forward, did an RFP. I mean, that's just one example. There are plenty of examples of like school conversions of, you know, to senior housing. You know, some towns have mills that they redevelop, not that you guys do, but there are other towns where they've done little cluster developments, little bungalow developments, pocket neighborhoods. There have been some towns that have been able to do special needs facilities that have counted on the SHI. You know, there are lots of examples of towns that have made progress on those types of.
But are they meeting the 10%, and how does their plan, the elements in there, you're simply saying that they have been successful in that list of things that the Affordable Housing Trust has been trying to do. So
Yeah.
for whatever reason, ours are more difficult or bigger or smaller.
No, I mean, I think it's, the high cost of, is a real problem. Some towns have been able to acquire property and convert it to long-term affordability, which your housing trust has tried to do a number of times. I mean, there is a frustration level, I'm sure. But, you know, it's, I mean, in different ways that maybe the town can use some of its housing trust money to subsidize some units could be helpful.
So I think looking, in reading the.
Habitat units,
Karen, can I just
another
make
example.
a quick comment? The last plan you did, there was a table in there that shows our surrounding towns and the percentage of SHI that they have. And I think
It's in this
Hamilton,
one too.
Hamilton was 3%, Ipswich was 8%, Wenham was.
Ipswich is now over 10.
Yeah, but they've got more land than we do, right?
Right.
To build these things. But I mean, Hamilton was really low.
And I'm
Wenham
surprised.
was pretty low too.
No, when it was actually over
8?
10%.
Was it, is it over 10?
Yeah, I think
It
so.
is. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Wenham, one project I believe put them over 10% on Maple
Yep.
Woods.
Yeah, maybe it was.
I know that Hamilton is
They
about
bought
to,
it, but it happened.
it is about to break ground on a housing project that was land donated by Peter Britton, who his goal was to create housing somewhere. So he
On
said,
Asbury Street.
yeah. So he said,
That's
screw it.
That's Harbor Lake.
I'm gonna do it on my land. Then Harbor Light again, up in Gloucester, developed the old YMCA building into affordable housing. North Shore CDC developed another lot up in Gloucester. Beverly, Harbor Light's all over Beverly.
Right.
So those projects are how many units? They have to be like 30 units?
The smallest one probably was Maple Woods, that was 60. They're doing one, I think it's 45 up in Ipswich. Not on land that's out in some field somewhere in the center of town.
In the center.
In the center of town. I think if you were to ask Andrew why he's not working in Manchester, I think there's a perception that it's hard.
We've had a number of meetings with Andrew. He would love to do a project in Manchester. We almost did one on School Street, we're very close. But the property got sold at the last minute to somebody else.
Yeah, that was a shame. I heard about that from Mark. Yeah.
So it's not like we haven't.
Well, site control is huge, you know, and density is another one. It's really,
How many units was that?
12 to 15.
Well, the other thing I want to just go back, your executive summary first paragraph says Manchester continue to guide new development to fit its own need for diversity in housing types and affordability while still complementing the town's traditional development patterns. And I think that what I'm hearing is if it's 45 units in the center of town, or if it's, I know Summer Street has had to be 30 towns. I think that's quite different than the traditional development patterns. And that's maybe where we have to, that may be a sentence that's not true. Because I think people think traditional development patterns are 2 units, 4 units, smaller scale. And I think people are very concerned about scale. That's my sense.
I gotta say the Summer Street project, I use that often as an example of how you can do great development
Yeah, it's a great.
in the downtown area that looks great and really meets a mix of needs. I mean, you guys need to be really proud of that development.
What's the status of the SLV project?
Nobody knows.
It's under appeal by a combination of the town and MECT, as far as I know.
When do those 40B units count to SHI? Does that happen once they are built?
She said
No,
to be
it
social
happens
occupied.
when the comp permit is approved.
Say that again?
So when the comp permit is approved, the comprehensive permit is approved, they can go on the SHI. But if it doesn't start construction, if there's no building permit within a year, they'll put a 0 on the SHI until they're really occupied.
Okay. So there's a window between projects.
There's a window, yeah.
Whatever happened to that project on Elm Street?
That's what we're talking about, that's the Powder House.
Yeah, is that still in the works?
Oh, yes.
That's been what, 2 years?
Well, people had to leave, didn't
Yeah,
they?
it needs to be
Yeah.
affirmatively marketed and occupied.
Oh, that's the, okay, all right.
So they didn't do the marketing didn't happen according to the
Well, it was
state
already
guidelines, so even though they've been filling it, that's the problem. They've been filling it the right way, they've been qualifying people, they've had enough units turn over,
But they didn't go through the market.
but they didn't go through the right process at the beginning, so they have
Make
to
it count.
start at ground zero again.
And wait for units to open
And
up?
then wait for units to open
Again?
up, and then, yes.
Oh,
So,
That's never gonna happen.
what a
be
shame.
another,
So the good news is it's
You'll make progress, there'll be
affordable
some
with a
progress
small
on
A.
it.
Right.
That doesn't help us.
No,
What
It does
is-
help us.
What is the help that we want?
I know,
What
that's
does
the
the
question.
SHI really get us? It's just a baloney thing.
Well, I think what the SHI gets us is it allows us to say, in my opinion, to say no to 250 units
Sure,
in a place.
But we're pretty good at saying no anyway.
That's, things that,
you can say no to the large project, but it's the one that's under the large cap that you can't say no to.
Well, we
So-
did, and now
no, we didn't.
sure we did.
now we're paying a ton of
So now
lawyers.
we're-
You keep
court.
fighting it, so instead of having it be built already.
Okay, so the question before us is, it sounds like Mark's suggestion is that if we have a forum, that it be about some of the demographics and what is the plan, what is a 40, what is a 40B, and not
No.
go, what is this,
The needs
plan.
assessment, right?
yeah.
Yeah, we'll work it out to
Yeah.
kind of keep it focused.
Yeah, I was thinking that some of the slides that I went through tonight would be applicable to a community meeting.
Okay, so in the interim, and is there a urgency to get this done so that we don't put the town in some,
Yes.
because ours is lapsed, right?
Yeah, but we're in a lapse period, so there is a bit of an urgency to get this done, so.
Is it important to get it done before other projects come before the town?
It's important to get it done,
Yeah, so we don't want to
Well,
delete
you
them.
told me that the first units through the section 3A have come through, that includes some affordable, didn't you mention that?
It doesn't include affordable, it
Oh, it does
is,
include affordable.
yeah, they just filed for, 4 units. But it's not 5, so 5 would require an affordable,
Dear help.
so
Got it.
the max they could build on that parcel would be 7, so.
So let's get I think we should do is get comments to Mark before the next meeting on the plan, the draft plan. And then, do we need to also meet with Karen again to go through the specific recommendations? Right now, you just have a placeholder for those.
Yeah, I think we should have the community meeting and then get to the next sections of the plan. I mean, unless you want me to draft the whole thing and then present the whole thing to the meeting? Or do you want just to focus on these other needs and try to get input on what people think should be the key strategies, the housing agenda? You tell me how you want to do it.
So when I've done it before, and I think that's what Karen's saying, is you want the community input before you have a final draft, so that the community input can say, we need, the missing middle, as they talked about at the last town I was at when we did one of these, and they talked about townhouses, developments, and other types of things, small houses, the cottage style, and other types of things that you can you can subsequently, if people want that, you can subsequently, change zoning to allow that under certain conditions in certain locations. So, so that's kind of how we've done it before. So that's why we could hold that sooner, and then have Karen finish the plan, present it to the board, and then you guys can vote it. And,
Be done.
Are you talking about doing that in June?
well, we
June-
have June 22nd. If
Sure, I
Karen
mean,
can do it on June
I
22nd.
can't do it on the 22nd.
Okay.
Does she have to be there for it?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. All right, we'll find a time.
okay.
I guess I feel like, when I listen to Chris, I feel like that the town has taken many steps that, I'm wondering if it's an opportunity to explain the steps that have been tried, ask for input, so people don't think that we're back saying, what should we do,
I think it's always good to lead with that.
Yes, I agree with you,
Yeah,
yeah.
always.
And there's been a lot of efforts made, but
Sure.
Well, you've made a lot of effort to add housing, to allow for opportunities for housing. It hasn't necessarily been focused as far as
But the affordable housing trust has.
But that's the
Powerhouse-
trust, but I'm
Powerhouse is
talking,
a good example, that's 29 units of
Yeah.
affordable housing.
Right.
We can surely talk about that.
Yeah,
but I mean, as far as what,
The thing I'm worried about is the elephant in the room, which is SLV and.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah,
right, I
yeah.
think.
Well, so isn't this discussion about a housing needs assessment of which SHI is part of it, right? I mean,
Right.
maybe it turns to all SHI, but I think we should lead with it being an overall housing assessment.
That's right.
Well, so let me ask you this question. If we were over the 100, we had 115 units right now, would we just unfund the trust and not care about affordable housing because we met SHI?
No, because we'd still need 60 more units.
What's 60 more units?
Well, then isn't that, we have 110 right now, right?
yeah, and if you added 136, you would be
We'd
enough.
be there,
Yeah,
right,
we'd be
yeah.
we'd be on we'd meet the state's
I'm not
requirement.
sure I understood your question.
So my question, if we met the SHI requirement
Right.
today, would we
You
just,
still have local housing needs.
well, thank you, Ken.
No, I know what you were gonna say. Yeah, do we just, is that, no, I don't,
Except our population's going down. I mean,
apparently.
Apparently,
Yeah.
or going to go down.
Right.
So it's,
No, Chris, I mean, that's
It
the
doesn't
balance, right?
mean
That's
that
the
there won't be
balance of-
people in the community who are really struggling to get by.
Yeah, that even if we're smaller, we're still gonna have people struggling.
Yeah, I think one of the key pieces here, Karen, that you outlined was affordability, right?
Right.
We still gotta address that.
By the way, our population's going down
it's,
because of our housing problem.
Yeah.
Young people can't move here and buy a house.
So,
Old people have no place to go, so they are staying in their houses, right?
we don't have
They're
turnover.
slowly dying,
Right.
and we're not replenishing the people, so our numbers are going down.
right, so people have to die faster. is what we're- That could be a solution.
Well, these big 40B,
Yeah.
hostile 40B projects don't completely solve that picture, right?
No, they don't.
And they
No,
leave
in
us
fact,
exposed, and
Smoke and mirrors.
then they potentially take a huge section of land that we have access to that's forever.
Right. Well, and they actually can make that worse. I mean,
Yep.
I went to the Gordon presentation and the developer started off by saying, I am a luxury housing developer.
Yeah.
I mean, that was his opening line.
Yeah.
And his whole thing is a swimming pool and a clubhouse and a cafe, and it's a luxury product with whatever number on the SHI that it's required.
25%.
25% of whatever large. So that doesn't solve our
Yeah.
cost of living problem. So it just adds more housing, which, I mean, I don't think it's, and it's, the other thing is that it is rental housing, so if you own your home and you're a senior, there's a significant tax benefit to buying something smaller, not renting. So that piece is also not a thing. I think what it does is it brings a new community area, whether for good or bad, to a development, to a parcel, because he talked about it as, I mean, that's the vision of that project, whether it's, you know, but it could be any old project, right? Let's create a community of 385 units with a pool and a clubhouse and a cafe. So to me, a community of whatever size that is not going to come downtown to buy their coffee and not going to, you know, send their residents to the MAC, which is an existing building and an existing business in town, but they're going to have their own little clubhouse with their own weight room and they're all that to me, that's like flying in the, forget the SHI for a minute, but in terms of, like, it doesn't do any of the things that we've talked about trying to do, and it's a scale that is not consistent with the town's development patterns.
Is the senior housing by right in the LCD?
No, needs a special.
But we could change that.
Because what I was gonna suggest was if someone approached SLV and said, hey, I like your project, I wanna buy it from you, but I'm mission driven and I wanna do all senior housing. Would the town support it?
Oh,
You think?
boy.
Shoo,
Chris would.
I'm not sure I would, but I don't know.
I think we
I don't,
can.
it's
Because
not, I don't
it
think
might solve the affordable thing, it might solve our,
it might, it's not
That's
a
it.
great place for seniors to be living, they should be
Top of the
closer
cliff.
downtown.
Yeah, really.
So, this is probably not the best thing to go through the merits or the assets of any particular development. So Mark and Karen and I will figure out a date to have a forum, a public meeting where we take this the next step. And maybe what we need is a sort of a calendar of the next steps. And in the meantime, between now and the next meeting, we will all send our comments to Mark, who will consolidate them and get them to Karen. Because I have a bunch of comments and additional questions, comments and questions. Does that make sense?
Can I suggest that we also put down a list of questions we'd like this forum to
Okay.
answer, something?
All right.
That would be great.
Yeah, good. Okay, good. Thank you. Anything else for Karen tonight? Stop sharing.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Okay. General District Planning Project. First of all, any other thoughts on this?
I just had one
Yeah.
question about the safe harbor. Would that apply with this housing production plan? Would we be able to get a safe harbor?
No,
You have to build 11 units a
No,
year.
okay.
you have
You have to
yeah,
actually get
you
them
have
on the
to add-
HS.
It's not-
Add a
it's
certain
not
number of
possible
units
to
a
do it.
year, approve a larger project, and then that gives you, depending on the size, 1 or 2 years.
Mhm. It's just-
Assuming it moves through and it starts getting built, so,
We're just not at that yet.
yeah, we're not at that.
Is there any kind of time frame when we are optimistic that the Powder House will become part of the SHI, or is it just
It's gonna happen unit by unit, so.
Yeah.
Oh.
one of the months as they go through the lottery and it's just.
So as turnover
They have
occurs.
to check people's income levels every year and, you know, make sure they're qualified.
Okay. And isn't Harbor Light the expert in this? How did they miss this?
CDC.
It's
Oh,
North
it's
Shore
North Shore
CDC, yeah. Well, they have a outside company that's managing the property. And, yeah, and so somewhere along the lines, both of them are experts, but one of them, or both of them.
I'm not
It's too
expert
bad
in
I didn't
Yeah.
get that going sooner.
That's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
But, so those, we'll have some incremental progress over time.
I should say something about this. Most 40Bs, you're starting with a blank slate, somebody builds a project, fills them in with people. This was unusual because
Right.
there's an existing affordable, small A affordable. And so they already were, all the tenants already met all the income requirements, so they could certify them and let them stay, they thought. But
Right.
it turns out,
So like kicking them out,
yeah, instead of.
which
yeah,
seemed like a bad idea.
Yeah, you don't wanna, throw people out to do it. So it was just complicated. No one had ever done this in the state before, so the state was totally confused.
Gross.
It's too bad.
No one had ever done it in the state.
No, it's always a new project. They take over an old building, rehab it, put people in it,
Wow.
so.
Really too bad.
Because that is an interesting, it seems like there could be an incentive program to
Yeah.
put
Yeah,
the
that's
small
what we want.
units.
That was an incentive
We had a
program.
meeting with Secretary Augustus and put it up and said, look, you're disincentivizing affordable housing by doing this. He's like, I can't help it, it's the law.
It's the law?
Yeah, we asked for a waiver, he said, no, we can't grant them, it's not allowed. Very frustrating.
Any other comments on that? Great. Okay, general district planning, what we talked about was doing a walk around again, so I think we're gonna try to start at 5:30, do a walk of part of the general district, then start our special permit. We have a bunch of stuff next in that meeting, and do it that way. So it just seemed like it, and if it rains, what we decided we'll just use Google Street View, which isn't as great, but we will continue a virtual walk. I mean, it's pouring, so where did washes? But I think that's useful to see it on the ground and, oh, that's that, and we'll figure out where we're gonna start.
I think we should, start here.
We'll come up with a route.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah.
So that we end up back here and we do like this half of the general district and then maybe the next meeting.
Yeah, another meeting we'll do the other half.
We do the other half and then we can kind of discuss what we see.
Yeah.
And kind of think about where we kind of may want to make changes, where we don't.
It would be
And
helpful
so
to
that
have
we
parcel
can-
map, the actual detailed parcels of,
Oh,
yeah.
a
for
map of the district showing each of the
Yeah.
parcels, yes,
Okay.
I'll have those.
Great. Okay, review of driveway regulations. Last thing. So the process, so we now have authority to issue regulations, which we will hold a public hearing. We have the draft that we've been batting around, and I just wanted to go through it. A little bit tedious, but
Okay.
so the first issue is that there's a purpose statement, which I think is kind of safety and flow of water onto public ways and neighboring properties. And then the second is that the permits shall be issued by the DPW, which I think we have agreed to, and it shall be separate and in addition to any required site plan review and prior to any building permit. That seems to often not happen, but and there was debate about that actually at one point, where people start building and then they come for their driving permit. But I think it's intentional to have it before the building permit. Designed to maximize visibility and to minimize the flow of water onto public way and adjacent.
So.
What?
I think
Do I not have the right one?
are you looking at the?
I'm looking at the one that was in the
Yeah, Kendall
packet.
put the wrong one.
There are three
Yeah,
of them.
that's the, that's
That's
the,
the,
That's the general bylaw.
that's the general
Oh,
bylaw
sorry.
that was already adopted.
okay.
So which one are we,
So we want the one that says driveway regulations with changes for discussion 2/23/26.
Okay, and that one's not in the meeting
That's
folder,
not-
right?
That was, she emailed that,
Oh,
Yeah,
I see.
it's-
Oh.
she emailed that out today.
yeah, it's in the, it's in
Someone-
the.
I see the one in the
Someone asked
folder
about-
that you're, the one you're on, I see you on this one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Draft 2/19/26
with changes from this,
no,
from
so there's
discussion
the
223.
regulations.
with change, yeah, with
Yeah.
the red lines?
Yeah, but that's the article marks, right?
Oh, yeah, I see.
All right,
The one that says regulations,
oh, okay,
not bylaw.
yeah, I got it.
No, well, it wasn't in the folder unfortunately, but
No,
Okay, I'm gonna open it, because we tend to say, oh, yeah, and then we just don't talk about it, so.
right.
I don't wanna spend too much time on it, but,
these are regulations that the DPW put together.
Yeah, well, so there's not a lot of changes to the regulations. What we did is we pulled out a lot from the bylaw.
oh, it's not,
And we added a few things in here, but not a lot. We added, so for example, the first thing we added was, instead of filing with the clerk, Public Works wanted filed on OpenGov. The application fee and the application shall be determined by the Public Works. And further down,
there's a lot on application fee, but. So I think what I wanna talk about is the criteria for design, section 5.
okay. So that's where we move some of the design standards from the bylaw
Right.
into the regulations, so that the regulations and the bylaw didn't conflict. And that the bylaw just had the process, and then the regulations had the standards.
Right, so this angle, it should be 90 degrees unless an exception is granted. Number of driveways, residential lots should be limited to a single driveway entrance unless a second right will reduce or eliminate the need for vehicles to back out. So DPW now has, that's a big change, that the authority to allow a second driveway. Fonts on this is weird. So minimum of 10 feet and maximum of 12 feet. So this is a driveway width as opposed to just the curb cut, but we're gonna go with that.
So if a driveway's 120 feet, but the house is set back under 100 feet, the driveway, the length of the driveway would supersede, so it would need to be 12 feet wide.
Yeah, for fire trucks. That was
Yeah, so it
the
would be.
fire department wanted.
Yep, but if the house was under 100 feet setback, we'd still go by the length of the driveway rather than the setback from the
Oh,
road.
yes.
Which, okay.
Okay, and for longer driveways, they want it clear of this is all fire department, 20 feet wide and 13 feet.
If you're gonna have a second driveway, don't you get into how much impermeable material in a lot? There's a big,
You know, you still have to comply, so
you still do not?
you have to
do.
comply.
Driveway counts as permeable, impermeable.
Impermeable, yeah.
Impermeable. So and if you're putting in a second driveway, you still have to have enough permeable surface. And all this stuff.
Okay, So then at, existing curbing, the radius shall be no more than 3 feet. And there's a driveway width. And I think this is the same cross-section that we've had for a while. Driveways and aprons shall provide adequate pedestrian use in compliance with MAAB, ADA, and DPW standards. Damage shall be replaced. Location not within 5 feet of a lot line, tree, utility pole, 10 feet of the nearest driveway. So this is what we had before, within 20 feet of the nearest street intersection. Grades. This is grade of each driveway where it intersects the public way shall not exceed 6% or 9% on minor streets for a distance of 20 feet of travel of the public way. Pervious, if it's contained within the driveway, will not wash into the roadway. And then new commercial driveways shall be reviewed by the planning board. And
Why is there no H?
typo.
Is there a different width for commercial driveways somewhere in the ordinance?
It's under site plan review, so I think it would depend on
Yeah, it would
use.
depend.
A little more discretion for probably.
Maybe I should add,
Hmm?
maybe I should add something for commercial
Or at least
driveways. Widths and grades shall be determined by the planning board and the site plan review,
Yeah.
not just,
DPW.
Yeah.
you know,
DPW should review application, conduct a site visit. The DPW determines the driveway entrance approval can be issued or special conditions exist. A driveway that does not comply with the criteria or in the opinion of DPW should require special review, may be permitted if special permit is granted. And then they have 30 days to act, and the review period should be extended by mutual consent, and work cannot be initiated without approval of DPW. A special permit and complete work shall be inspected. And if it's denied, the property owner disagrees, it can come to us for a special permit. Okay, any comments? The next step here, sorry. What is 4.0C should be removed or reworded to tight streets?
That was already done, that was just a note for the width for the fire truck, so that C has already been changed.
Okay, so you can get rid of that.
Yeah, and then this is the fire regulation, MGL 50. I
Okay,
don't know whether we wanna necessarily add that, I didn't.
I didn't.
But
We can get rid of that.
those are just the 2 comments I got from
Okay.
the fire chief.
So we will have a public hearing on this and then we'll promulgate these. Mark, I'm gonna ask that you do the presentation of the summary of those with,
Sure.
a couple slides so that,
We should have DPW here.
and you have DPW here.
Okay,
So we have to put that on the calendar.
I was thinking June 22nd.
Yeah.
So the ad will come out in a week from Friday's paper. So.
Okay, and if you know anybody, I did send it, John Carlson had asked at town meeting, I asked Kendall to send him this so that anybody else who's expressed interest, he's the only one that I'm aware of, but.
Someone I spoke to about a month ago I'm not sure if it was him or somebody else,
Okay,
but
well,
that's all,
okay.
just one other person.
Okay, great. Any other comments? Great. Okay. So last time we went through our project list, I think we don't necessarily need to take any action tonight, but just wondering if people, had any other thoughts about things. As you can see, we already have a pretty full agenda now till between the housing production plan, the general districts material, and the driveway regulations, and a couple of permits that are coming, special permits that are coming along. But, so I don't see us doing anything big, anything else big, except the town clerk which we didn't put on our list because we didn't know about it. The town clerk got a grant to have it's called General Code, which is a company that takes general bylaws and zoning and gets rid of typos and formats them and puts them on a website so it's searchable and keeps track of amendments and all of those administrative things that are difficult. And our zoning, at the very least, has probably 42 different ways to do bullets and sub-bullets and those kinds of things. And so she is moving ahead with this under a fairly short time frame. So that's going to take a little bit of our time. Maybe not even just a little bit. There'll be two parts. One is potentially, there's I guess 3 parts: reorganization, renumbering, recommendations. And the second might be removing things that are illegal or small changes that are recommended. And then the third thing could be more substantive suggestions. And given that any of them are zoning changes, it'd have to come to us. The select board had a lot of hand-wringing about this. Were you there at the meeting?
No.
Concerned about how difficult it is to do zoning changes and all of that. And it's a town clerk's initiative. She wants our cooperation. I think on the other hand, it seems to me it's an opportunity to tidy things up, make continuous improvement. So she has asked, did she get to you today?
She did send some.
Yeah, so the first thing that they've done is a sort of a quick read through, and I think they have some initial suggestions. So Mark and I don't know if you're available Tuesday, I think Thursday morning, are gonna hear what they have to say. If anybody wants to join us, because it's so exciting, let me know, and we'll stay tuned.
I think in general, this would be a little smoother than it is sometimes in some communities, because although it was a challenging process to say the least, even though I wasn't here, I've been through it with Bobrowski in another town. You've taken care of a lot of the legal things and some of the conflicting things that you might have had before, and so they're probably not going to find a lot of stuff that's blatantly illegal, or one section says
We still have a few things.
but there will be some things, and so we will be bringing those to you, saying we have this list of things that we need to correct through town meeting articles. Generally, those are outside of the scope of readopting the new format. So sometimes, like, smaller things are in, but big things are a separate article.
Right.
So again, until we they really do the review, we won't know.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
this
we
may
did,
not be as big a deal as this, I understand the select board, we're very concerned, and rightly so, but it may not be so bad.
yeah, I mean, I think that we have done several reorganization and typo things that did sail through with, by saying, this doesn't change the meaning. I think was when you change, you can't, I think, personally, I think it's very difficult to change the direction of something while you're trying to renumber. Because renumbering seems, who cares, right? As long as it's improving it, making it more readable. And then substantive changes, density, setbacks, all those other things those are more substantive. So we'll meet with her on Thursday and see what they've come up with. And I was gonna suggest that maybe you and I, since we lived it, go through Bobrowski's memo, and, because he did a memo to us. I know where it is.
I haven't,
Yeah, and say, here are the things that we've done on his, because he did a whole review. Here are the things we've done, and if there are remaining things, like section 7,
section 7.
that the general code can help us with, it might,
They are really more of a renumbering thing. They're
Yeah.
not gonna make policy recommendations, they're not gonna say this is the
but there were
way
a
that-
couple of things that he identified that were, he believed were illegal or, that kind of thing. So, we'll go through the memo, put those two efforts together and see. I think Christine wants to see this renumbering effort on the November town meeting. No, she's done in October.
No.
Yeah, maybe April.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's still out there and it's really her initiative. We'll see what the scope is. Okay. So any other discussion about other projects? We'll keep that project list lives, did you update it?
Yeah, so what I'm gonna do is, right now it just says spring of 2026. I'm gonna change and put the last meeting's date on it, so that'll be in there as far as the document that we're working off of. And so you can always go look in that and see.
Where will it be kept?
I'll show you.
So it's under planning board projects. And then
Okay.
there's.
So it's under,
separate
if you look under its planning board projects,
planning projects.
it's red.
Yeah.
So click
Got
up here.
Yeah.
And then you have, project list. So there's the various
PB
lists that we've been
project list?
keeping.
Yeah.
So, and then any projects that become projects are have their own folder.
Projects that become projects.
Projects, like downtown zoning has its own folder with a communications folder. And I think that for the last round worked pretty well. So, all right, other matters, talked a little bit about the, proposal for Gordon Woods. If you haven't had a chance to watch the select board meeting for last Monday, a week ago,
Really good
the
idea.
video is online. I would encourage you to look at it and watch it.
He had some good comments about scale, density, I think.
Thank you. You make your, I don't think we don't have to take any action. I think we don't have any official role in the project, but we can talk about whether we should make a statement or once it comes forward.
Yes, their plan, as they described, was to kind of shop this. They need to build community support for their project and explain why it's good to Manchester. Whether it's technically, whether it's good or not doesn't matter. It's
Right.
they have to be able to convince you that this is a good project because it's a large project. Being a large project, the zoning board has to accept the project as a project they want to review. And they have 15 days from the time it's submitted to them to make that decision. The developers stated that they, even though other boards don't review 40Bs, the only ones who do is the zoning board and conservation for if they're in any sort of the state jurisdiction for conservation, not the local bylaw, only the state. But they said they were gonna try and go around to different boards to try and build community support. So I expect that if they are gonna follow through with that, they will wanna come to the planning board to make a similar presentation or something along those lines.
A
So
meet and greet,
perhaps.
Or what?
a
Yeah,
meet and greet.
They're not required to, they might go to, other groups, other boards.
What would you, do you
So-
have any sense of when they'd bring it to the zoning board?
They said, October. The first step that they have to do is file for what's called a site approval letter. So they have filed that with EOHLC and what EOHLC does is they send out a letter to the planning board and to the select board asking for comments on the proposals. And there's a basic site plan and a little description that gets sent into the state that then comes back. Planning board and the select board get to comment on the proposal. You can comment as extensively as you want, breaking it down to sidewalks and lighting, or you're concerned about environmental things or whatever it is. Generally, they approve it. The site approval letter, I've not seen one, I haven't been in too many, but a handful of them. They approve it. Sometimes they will say, you need to make sure, being a large project, you do a traffic study. You need to make sure that, you evaluate the town sewer capacity. Or they'll put in some caveats that they have to evaluate in their submission to the zoning board, and then they make their submission to the zoning board. So,
In SLB's case, the town required a third party on a number of topics. A town hired a third party review.
yeah, that's typical. The zoning board will be able to do that for, traffic, probably things like traffic,
Water,
yes, stormwater. Well, water and sewer capacity generally are available. That's really, again, if it's questionable, maybe they'll require some sort of analysis about that. I know that they did talk about and made a thing about low flow water fixtures,
They're required by law.
which are required by law. So the only question is, are they doing that just sound good, or are they doing it because their water use is so high that it does create an impact to our water system? I don't know the answer to that. So, that might be something that the zoning board, or that we comment on and the zoning board evaluates. Whatever the impacts are on your specific community based on that specific project are things that you can review and comment on.
I mean, they said things like, we're gonna meet the stretch cut, well, that's required. So, things like that.
Yeah.
That, low flow, so, it's a high level, they're just at a high concept
Yes.
level, that not,
The other thing that we'll do is file with the Conservation Commission for NRAD, which is an agreement on where the wetland boundaries are. And the commission again can hire an expert to assist them in determining that line.
Okay. Any other, any other updates? Okay. Minutes.
So I noticed in the April 9th meeting, it talked about town council as opposed to the select board. That's the only change I had.
Okay. That was April 13th.
I guess 13th, I had one of those meetings.
And there was one where they had I don't know that she needs to list both the members present and the call to order. Because there was a discrepancy in one of them.
Oh,
No. Town meeting.
On the 413 minutes.
Yep.
There's a section called other matters not previously
Yep.
anticipated, and they cite me as providing an update of the facilities planning committee's progress, and I
Okay, Gordon.
could not do the job that Gordon did. I want to make
Okay.
sure he gets credit for that.
I saw that, I was gonna say.
Well, come on, you deserve credit, Gordon.
Alright, I made that change. Okay. You said it was under that one, that was town council?
One of the early ones.
Not seeing town council in that one. Okay, so let's take let's take April 13th with the amendment that Peter has requested. So, I was not there and Sandy was not there, so I'll take a motion from somebody who was there, and, John was not there.
Move to pass the minutes
Okay,
with the
Peter
amendment
moves
from
and, Chris
Chris.
seconds. Any
Chris.
any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and 2 abstentions. Great. Okay. How about 3-9? Well, maybe I can, I have to,
One of them was just
the 3-9, you're gonna move?
the communications one.
Yes.
Yeah, I move those be approved.
No, this was actually Ted Miller and all that. This is a regular meeting, 3-9.
Theodore.
Oh, is that, maybe that's, oh,
No, I don't think that was. Oh, okay, this is the one. So the board authorizes Mark Resnick to make administrative changes to all articles as recommended by town council. And it's not town council,
Oh,
it's
it's
town
council.
council.
that's it.
Jeez, for crying out loud.
I was not an
Mary.
English major.
She has it correct, the next one.
Council.
Okay, with the understanding, that is correct. So that was correct. So that's, March 9th. I think everybody was present. No one was absent, so I'll take a motion.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Chris seconds, all in favor? Opposed?
This is my favorite
Okay.
part.
That's your big moment. The 23rd, I just want to get these done. Everybody was present. Let's see if this one has-
So moved.
Okay. Hold on.
Gordon, do you want one,
See.
Gordon?
Okay, Peter has moved and Gordon has seconded the motion, the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Boy, that was when we met with Karen previously. How time flies. The 16th. That was a communication session. We have, well, we can't vote that one. That was just Sarah, Sandy, and Sue.
Sad,
I feel like Brian came to them.
so you can't, next.
So I'll vote to approve that, so, I don't know. That's a short one.
Favor?
I don't know how we approve that, so. Okay, and is that it? We caught up? How exciting. Oh, no, May 11th.
No, Gordon and I weren't here.
So, public comment, this was, okay, so I'll take a motion from Chris moves, and Brian, this is, this was a, yeah. This was our planning meeting. All in favor? 3, that works. Okay, and May 26th, that's the agenda. Can't approve May 26th yet. I think we're caught up. I think there's one communications meeting that we still have to do. All right, any other matters? I'll take a motion to adjourn. Peter?
No, come on.
Brian, what?
Yes,
So
second, and third.
Okay.
You good?
Good.